For our arrogance, the gods withdrew their protection, and we were forced to confront the hives without them. Now, with our blood humbly given, we again live under the gods' protection. Words spoken by the presiding priests over the blood rituals of Damas. Once, many cultures spread across the majority of Tabios. The Damas have been driven into the southwest corner of the continent with the coming of the hives of Abil and Forman. Before the hives, the cultures were the equivalent of pre-Columbian civilizations from modern Mexico south, existing at the same time and interacting with each other. With the arrival of the hives, the people of Tabios were forced further and further into the southwest, flooding Kabil, that was the equivalent of the Incan Empire, with refugees from across the continent. Eventually, the empire was diminished, though it has since expanded by pushing as far south as it could go. The tragedy of Tabios is that it was the last to fall and the first to recover from the cataclysm. Up until about 1,000 years ago, it was the center of new growth of civilization on Ephokar. They had begun exploring and rediscovering the world, trading with other continents, and it had surpassed the development of the equivalent real-world civilizations. Kabil struggled for a time, but the massive number of refugees and constant pressure from the hives caused it to collapse in on itself. While officially it existed for another 500 years, it was in name only, and a new dark age plunged the people of this region back to a time where they could barely sustain themselves. Eventually, a new religious sect would arise based on the longer days and nights of being further south that focused on Croesus, deity of light, and Utsul, deity of dark. The acolytes preached that it was the abandonment of the old ways and arrogance of the people that led the hives to triumph over them. Part of the return to the old ways was the return of blood sacrifices, a practice that had long ago been abandoned by the people of Tabios before the coming of the hives. Without a central authority, it started to become even more chaotic. That is, until the Kabyle Empress Acna embraced the movement and made herself the leader of it. She would consolidate power and reunite the people as the Damas, making them a single people rather than disparate groups. Eventually, the society itself would adopt the name as a whole and become the Damas Empire, as it better reflected the mix of cultures that now existed. Blood sacrifices would become ritualized and be used not only as worship, but control by the elite. The rituals would be used to fuel massive spells that made the area more habitable than it would be naturally. The Damas have again started to develop and reached the 1491 level of development of their real-world counterparts.